Hi everyone, this is Angie Norris. Welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel, Angie's Book Adventures. And I'm going to be doing a book review this evening on the book Kiss the Girls by James Patterson. Now, first of all, let me tell you just real quickly, if you're wondering why the heck do I have clothes behind me, it is because I am filming this from my closet. My office, where my library bookshelves are, where I normally sit in front of and do my book reviews, is shut off and there's no heat up there and it's very cold. So it's January 22nd in North Carolina and it is extremely cold outside. We heat our home with a wood fire stove, wood stove insert in our fireplace, and during these extremely cold times, we shut those bedroom doors off upstairs and we just heat the downstairs. So it's a little cold. And my husband is watching TV, so I didn't want to disturb him. So I decided to come into the closet and we're going to do these book review videos. Tonight, the one I'm doing right now is about Kiss the Girls by James Patterson. I bought this book in a thrift store. If I have ever read anything by James Patterson, I do not remember it. It was years ago. He is an author that you either love or hate. He has been around for years, and he's still writing. This book, I didn't realize it until I got ready to read it during the month of January, was actually published initially in 1995. So this book, this year, as of 2025, is 30 years old. But one of the main reasons that I wanted to go back and read this book is because it is set, or part of the book is set in North Carolina, in Chapel Hill and Durham, North Carolina, which is only 45 minutes to an hour away from where I live. And so that intrigued me. I was standing in the thrift store, and the lady that worked at the thrift store that was putting some books on the shelves put this one up on the shelf while I was standing there, and she said, "Have you ever read this book?" And I said, "No." And she was the one that told me to read the back of the book, or the inside of the cover, the synopsis, that it was set in North Carolina and that I would recognize a lot of the places that he describes in the book. So that intrigued me. So I bought it at the bookstore. It has been sitting in my on my shelf, on my TBR list. And so when I did my TBR list for January, I decided to stick it on there. And it is a pretty thick paperback. I think it had like 481 pages. It's not a little skinny book, but I am telling you, I read this book. I flew through this book. I probably could have read it in 2 days, but I read it in 3 days. It was amazing. I have given it a 5-star review. I am a big mystery thriller person. I love those kind of stories. And this is what this one was. So this was actually, if you know anything about James Patterson, one of the characters in this book, the detective that the story is kind of centered around, is Alex Cross. And evidently, I did not know this, but James Patterson has written several novels that include this main character. And this was book number 2. So Alex Cross is a detective. You're introduced to him. He lives in Washington, D.C. And the book is about, the reason it's in North Carolina, or set in North Carolina, is because there is a serial killer that is kidnapping and killing women in the Chapel Hill, Durham areas, where the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill is located. And if you've ever heard of Duke University, is located in Durham. So those two universities, as well as North Carolina State University in Raleigh, all of these women around these universities start going missing. They're kidnapping. They've been kidnapped. Some of them have been murdered. And one of the women that is kidnapped is Alex Cross's niece, who is in law school at Duke University. And so even though he is a detective and he's on the DC police force, he takes leave and he comes to Durham, North Carolina to search for his missing niece. Now, I did find this book so interesting, some of the things in it, because it was written 30 years ago. I'm 59 years old. So I remember the times before we had cell phones, before we had pagers. But you'll see as you read this book that this is a street cop who has to hit the streets and do police work the old-fashioned way. In fact, you will notice that when he gets to Durham, North Carolina, he's staying in this specific hotel, and he'll say, or the author will write in the book, that when he gets back to the hotel room each night, he checks his messages with the hotel clerk. You know, we are so in a world today where, you know, we get text messages on our phone, we get emails instantaneously. That is not the way it was 30 years ago. So I found that part of the book just so fascinating, and the fact that the police work was done the old-fashioned way. You get in your car, you drive, you go talk to people, you do paperwork, you don't get messages and, you know, test results and things instantaneously like they do in the world today. But anyway, if you love a mystery thriller, you will love this book. And even though it is 30 years old, if you have not read Kiss the Girls by James Patterson, I highly recommend it. Y'all have a good night.